Hey traders, Akil here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. First and foremost, thank you all for the prayers and the blessing. The wife delivered a healthy baby boy on Friday, so we're excited about that. Originally, I wasn't going to do a podcast episode today because, it's been a busy weekend to say the least, but I'm up early on a Monday morning and I do have some cool live room footage from last week that I think will make for a good episode. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to share some live room footage we had having a discussion on really starting out as a trader and, how to match your trading towards your personality. Should I trade a single strategy versus multiple strategies, all of that good stuff. Because it's a very common question that I get by newer traders. How should I trade and what should I trade? And a lot of traders trade way too many systems or strategies. And there's a few reasons behind that. One is they don't actually take the time to learn how to trade. They're just focused on the end result. What can I use to make money? But another reason is traders are often in a rush. They're often in a rush and they're very impatient. So they start with one strategy. It doesn't really work the way they wanted to. So they bounce to another one. And then that another one doesn't continue to work the way they wanted to. Then they bounce back to the original. Then they add this one. Then they go on the internet and they add this next one. And before they know it, they have 4 or 5 strategies that they're trading because they think the more strategies that I trade, the more active I'll be in the market. The more active I'll be in the market, the more money I'll make. Where in reality, it's kind of the opposite, right? What I've learned over my years of trading is to be patient, wait for the best opportunities, and avoid the market's trap. It's really just about avoiding the pitfalls. And the more you want to trade recklessly, of course, you can have multiple strategies if you're good, but put yourself in the shoes of a newer trader. The more that you trade recklessly, the better chance you have of really catching bad trades and losing money. And I think a lot of you guys can agree with that. So in this conversation, we're talking with a newer trader who has kind of been through that journey and is kind of restarting and saying, hey, come on, I need your advice. What's the best way to go about it as I restart my journey? So I hope you guys enjoy. Of course, it helps me out massively every time you guys hit that like button and hit that share button. My kid just barged in the door. Good morning, buddy. I'll be with you in a little bit, okay? I got to finish this podcast introduction. Okay. All right. So you guys enjoy the recording, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Jamie says, this is where I see how being a counter trend. Exactly. That's a good point, Jamie, right? I always, and this is something I went through. For you guys, we have a lot of new traders in the room today. For you guys that are just starting out, right? Whenever you're newer to the platform and the training, what do I always advise? Do I advise that you trade? Because you're going through 7 training courses, and you're getting a lot of information. Now it's structured information, but it's a lot of information to trade a lot of different ways. Do I advise that you trade every single way at once? No, right? Pick one way. Pick one way and focus on that one way, right? Be good at one thing. Be good at one thing. Because if you try to do more than one thing at once, if you try to be everything and you're not experienced enough, when you get experience, you can handle it because you have the skill of basically developing strategies. And when you have the skill of developing strategies, you have the ability to add filters or basically you have the ability to separate when you should take one type of trade versus another type of trade. But as a newer trader, you don't have that skill yet. And as Jamie mentioned, you're going to see setups like this, and you're going to do all types of things. You're going to think, okay, I can get long, but I can get short, but I can get long or short, but then short and long. And what happens is you end up making an emotional decision, right? You guys have heard of confirmation bias? You're going to end up, I spoke to a trader the other day about this. He said, Akil, he said, I love your videos. I'm working on getting good. I can't wait to join the platform. I want to tell you a little bit about my story. And he said, I used to be a CNBC trader. And I'm like, oh, what? This guy was on CNBC? And then I went on to read. He's like, now I know what you're thinking. No, I didn't work for CNBC. But what I mean is I would listen to CNBC and then whatever they would convince me to do, I would do. He said, whatever the pundits would tell me in the morning, that's what I would do. And then the next day, they'd tell me the exact opposite if it didn't work out. He said, I slowly learned that they really have no idea what they're talking about. And I was like, amen, brother. I used to do the same thing. I used to turn on CNBC one day and they used to say buy gold. And I used to only look at the charts trying to buy gold. And then gold would fall. I'd be stopped out. The next day, they'd be telling me why gold is a good short. And I'd be scratching my head like, didn't you just say, I could have swore you just, maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe I heard it wrong. But yeah, you're going to do whatever your mind wants to do. And typically, if you're venturing off to different places on like internet land, that means being influenced by what other traders are doing. Right? So if you're on TradingView or some type of forum and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm long euro dollar, you'll probably lean towards getting long euro dollar because that's what the pack is doing. And right, naturally, we want to follow the pack. Even though we know that the failure rate, the majority of traders fail. So, you know, you're probably better off doing the opposite of what everyone is doing in the trading forum. But that's another story for another time. But Dana says, I think it's Dana. If it's not Dana, let me know. How do you determine which style of trading to focus on? Dana, perfect. You need to. It comes with understanding yourself. Here's how I advise people go through the course material. Right? I say I do think you need to go through the courses multiple times, first and foremost, and that means a minimum of twice. Um, I think the first time, it's think about it like this. Okay, how many of you guys have been to a buffet, or as I call it, a buffet? Been to a buffet before? All right. You ever been to a buffet and then before you know it, you're at your table and you have like 8 plates and you have no idea, you're like, how do I get these 8 plates? Because like you just went to every single place and then you just grabbed it. Ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that looks good too. And before you know it, you got all this stuff that you can't get, right? So here's what you want to do on a buffet, right? Because I'm an expert buffeter, right? 4 years of college taught me to do the look around, right? So instead of grabbing my plate, I grab no plate, I grab no tray, no silverware, right? I just walk and watch. Ooh, that sounds stalkerish. I walk and watch. I walk around the buffet and I take mental notes and I'm like, ooh, we got that right there. That looks good. Okay, yeah. Ooh, I can get down with that. Oh, ooh, omelet bar. Okay. Hamburgers, chicken, right? And I just go through it all and I take it all in. I take it all in. I learn what the buffet has to offer, right? And after I see everything, after I see all of my choices, I take a second and I think about, what do I want today? I don't want the burger. I'm going for a run later. I don't want that, right? And then once I lock in on kind of what I want, then I go from my plate, my tray, my silverware, and I go dig in. And the training courses are the same way. Again, you're going through 7 training courses. There's lots of information. It's going to teach you advanced pattern trading, counter trend trading, trend continuation trading, simple pattern trading, CTS trading, breakout trading, all types of stuff. And it's going to be impossible to concentrate on all of it. What's going to happen is if you try to do everything, you're going to have 50 plates at your table, and you're just going to dib and dab in each of them and leave a lot of meat or a lot of extra food on your plate. And in trading, right, if you leave extra food on your plate, that means knowing a little bit about a system or strategy, but not knowing a lot about it. And when you only know half the information, the markets are going to eat you alive. So you go through the course, you go through the training. And typically what happens is, and you guys can let the data know better than me, typically what happens is you find a way that is either one, really easy for you to pick up, right? Some stuff you're going to have to go through like a couple times because you're like, I just don't get it. Right? Jessica may email me, Akil, just this double top stuff, like I understand it, but I just can't see it. But then she may get to flag patterns, for example. And it's like, boom, it just stands out. Like, yeah, I just see them. They just pop out, right? So you go through it and you'll notice that something is just easier for you to see. Something is just easier for you to pick up. That's always a good sign. You don't need to take the hard route. If it's easier for you to see, there's something that's naturally drawn to it. So that's one thing you want to look for. What is easy? What concepts are easy for you to understand and recognize? Two are what concepts fit your personality, right? I tried to be, when I first got started trading, I tried to be a trend continuation trader. And this is for you guys that read the post I did in the strategy development lab, or group I had. I wrote the same thing this morning. I said, I really want to make this breakout strategy this, but it just doesn't mesh with my personality. So I'm going to take a different approach to it. And I used to be a trend continuation trader, or I tried to be a trend continuation trader where you buy it and you just hold on for like, days and weeks. And you know what I noticed when I was doing that? And if I knew more about myself, I never would have took that route. But I don't have patience, guys. Yeah, and it's not even the opportunities in between. That's one thing, and that could be something with Chris. Chris likes action. Chris had a good accountability session to follow up on that conversation. Chris likes action. Chris has this need to be in the charts, right? And that could be a negative, but Chris is at the level where he turns into a positive, right? So Chris trades a lot of strategies. He trades a lot of pairs, but he puts himself in a position where he's in and out. He's not holding on for something for weeks and missing other opportunities, and that fits his personality. For me, I'm not patient enough to hold a trade for weeks at a time consistently, and I'm also not patient enough to give up potential profit, in hopes of bigger profit, only to have that bigger profit not achieved. Does that make sense, guys? So here's an example, right? So trend continuation. Basically, we talked about this the other day. You're taking loss in hopes of the one time, right, that you catch that big move. Right? So you little win, and a lot of the time before you catch that big move, you'll see yourself being up like, let's say 100 pips, and then price action will do this. It'll come back down and you'll get stopped out for break even. And you're like, but there were 100 pips in the bank, but now it's gone. Right? All because you're setting yourself up for the big move. And then like, a month later, you'll catch like a 400 pip move, will make up for it and everything will be good. I don't have the patience to do that. I need to be in and out. I don't like seeing money on the table and then have it being taken away, right? I want to get my safe. I would much rather consistently take small crumbs of the cookie with less risk of mama catching me than try to sneak my whole hand in and grab like 4 or 5 cookies, but have mom catch me multiple times, get beat, only to get away with it that one time. So you got to find what fits your personality. That's maybe not my best analogy, but you kind of find what fits you as a person, what you're comfortable with. Does that make sense, Dana? And then once you find out that way, once you kind of get that feeling, then you go back and you fully focus on that strategy. Leave the other ones alone. Fully focus on that strategy. Because you can always come back to the other ones later. You can always be a counter trend trader and then you're consistently trading it and you're like, man, I want to add something else. I'm seeing a lot of breakouts. I want to add maybe a breakout strategy. And then you start adding wedges and triangles. And you just slowly develop. I started with one strategy. You guys see how much I trade now. Now, part of that is being a teacher as well, but I just slowly add it to the arsenal. Slowly add it to my toolkit. Yeah, when I started trading, when I restarted my trading for the last time before getting successful, I started with the Gartley pattern. All I traded, one thing, and I got really good at that one thing. And once I got really good at that one thing and I had extra time, I was basically running on autopilot. I said, hey, I got plenty of time. I'm a full-time trader. I got nothing else to do. Let's work on something else. And I slowly added a bat pattern. I slowly added a cipher pattern. Now I'm trading 3 advanced pattern formations. And as I continue to educate myself on the market, right? I started going back to some of the stuff I used to trade before, some of the CTS stuff, some of the simple pattern stuff that I traded before. But because I was young, dumb, and stupid, I didn't trade it the right way. But now that I was more experienced and more knowledgeable, I went through my notes, kind of went through the old stuff I was trading and re-educated myself on it and said, hey, okay, we're going to trade this again because I really love, my heart is in like structured trading. I just went to advanced patterns because I needed something to make me money. I needed something that I couldn't mess up, or that was very hard for me to mess up. But my love was always structure trading. I just wasn't good at it. So, good question. Good question. I do believe that knowledge is important. I used to kind of say, just if you don't know it, ignore it. Who cares about it? It doesn't affect you. But as I become more of a as I just get better with price action, let's just be honest, as I get better as a trader, and I'm still in my journey, guys. I don't think I'm anywhere close to my potential. So I'm still learning and evolving. But as you become more of a student of price action, even if you don't use a specific pattern or a specific formation, it still gives you a clue. Who here trades head and shoulders patterns? Yeah, journey will never end, Chris. Never end. Who trades head and shoulders patterns? Anybody? You got George. We got Chris, Rain. So most of the people do not in this room, right? We're at 40. Ooh, max capacity. Most of the people in here do not trade head and shoulders. Now, who in here thinks it's important to get a clue on when the market may be reversing? Everybody. See what I mean? You may not trade it, but if it gives you a small clue, and it could be you setting up a different setup, but it gives you a small clue, kind of like a check in your CTS where it's like, hey Chris, classic reversal pattern, just saying, doesn't mean it's going to reverse, but just, may want to look out for it. That could be the difference between Chris taking an aggressive approach for a long opportunity versus being more conservative because he's got a big red flag in his face. And if Chris keeps himself out of one losing trade, that's basically the equivalent of him getting a winner. Staying out of losers is just as good as winning. Yeah, it makes a huge difference because Imagine you do that once a week, once a month, right? So you get 12 trades a year. Yeah. So still, and again, still important to know. So potential head and shoulders here on the euro dollar. Now this would be one where if you wanted to trade the right shoulder, guys, this would be one where you can be more aggressive trading the right.
Hey guys, just wanted to say a quick thank you once again for supporting the show. The show is growing more and more each and every week, and that's all because of you guys taking the time to share, taking the time to leave reviews and ratings, and just in general supporting what we're doing here. And I couldn't thank you anymore. I do have some cool shows planned for you if I ever get the time. I've got an interview of my real estate partner. He has an amazing story about becoming an entrepreneur. Basically, 6 kids, dropped his job and said, you know what, F it. Let's go. I also have some pretty cool articles that I want to share with you guys as well. So there's a lot coming from the Trading Coach podcast, including more content on trading, right? Because that's what I do every day. So keep an eye out for it. If you guys are new and you're listening to this on YouTube, you can also find this podcast on your favorite podcasting or music streaming app. We're everywhere. So anywhere from iTunes to Spotify to SoundCloud to iHeartRadio. If it's a place that shares music and podcasts, then most likely you can find the Trading Coach podcast on there because we are slowly becoming the best and biggest Forex trading podcast out there. So the support is real. Keep it up, right? Teach one, reach one, continue to share, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.